welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you would do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. And here's where we'll start. So last week I said that I was going to break down the NFL division by division before the season starts. We're about four and a half weeks away from the season starting. And last episode I went over the AFC South. This episode, I'm going to talk about the AFC East. The AFC East consists of the New England Patriots, the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets. I'm going to break down each team, of course. Going to talk about some interesting, developments or interesting stories we have about the teams. And then I'm also going to rank them from, least to best in the division. Let's start with the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots find themselves in an interesting situation. And I say interesting situation because they find themselves in a situation that they haven't seen in a while. And that is, they're coming off a season where they weren't that good. I don't know the last time the New England Patriots came into a season not being the favorite outside of last year. And this is new times for New England. You know what I mean? Like, New England's just a regular team now. Now, of course, you still have a great coach in Bill Belichick. We'll talk about Cam Newton in a second. But it's just a regular team. It's like a team that you expect greatness from the New England Patriots. You expect them to be, one of the top teams in the league. But they're just not there anymore. And, of course, we need to see what happens with Mac Jones. Again, we need to see what happens with Cam Newton. But I don't think that they will get there. Like, they're just not that good of a team. And a question, I posed a question on social media. If you don't follow me on social media or the Popular Podcast on social media, the link is in the description below. My Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go check them out. But I posed a question. I said, is Cam Newton a Hall of Famer? And a lot of people say, yeah. A lot of people said no. It's, of course, your opinion. But let's talk about it. Who is Cam Newton? Cam Newton he's a hard person to assess. And I said he's a hard person to assess because he does some incredible things well. He's one of the greatest runners of the football at the quarterback position that we've ever seen. He's one of the best athletes at the quarterback position we've ever seen. He's dealt with, of course, some injuries, but some of his best years were, of course, the 2015 year when the Panthers went all the way to the Super Bowl and lost. He was having an incredible year last year before COVID hit. Cam Newton is a really tough person to assess because while you have all those great attributes, you also have some attributes that's hard to not notice. Cam Newton has never been the most accurate passer of the ball. Like I said, Cam Newton has dealt with injury from time to time, and that injury has caused him to not only miss a bunch of games, but when he comes back, he's not 100% there because he's either usually rehabbing instead of training, because rehabbing and training is two different things for people that don't know. Also, we talked about last year, right? And again, we'll get back to the New England Patriots. We talked about last year. Cam Newton was having an incredible start to the season, having one of his highest passer ratings. While he wasn't scoring that many touchdowns, it wasn't because he wasn't good. It was because the fact that they didn't have really a good wide receiver core. But then COVID hit. And a lot of people just killed Cam Newton last year because when he came back from COVID, of course, he didn't look the same. He looked a step slower. I think after COVID, he only scored maybe 6 or 7 touchdowns or something like that. Like he really wasn't good. But I tried to tell people and I tried to explain, you have to understand, man. And it's legendary how difficult the New England Patriots system is to adapt. Not only trying to learn the playbook, but just trying to trying to adapt yourself to the New England way. It's incredibly difficult, especially, I don't know. When you talk about the circumstances that the whole league dealt with last year, you had you had COVID, of course. A lot of games were getting canceled. Hell, the New England Patriots was a team that got hit probably one of, like, I'm not gonna say they got hit the hardest due to COVID, but a lot of their best players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, opted out due to the, they didn't want to play in the season due to COVID. Not to mention the fact that the team did get hit with COVID. I mean, Cam Newton got hit with COVID, and they didn't really have a traditional offseason last year, nor did they have a preseason. And I think the Patriots is one of those teams where you need a preseason. You need as many reps as possible because you need to learn the system. And like I said, it's legendarily tough to learn that. I mean, just as some of the, as has Tom Brady, as Devin McCourty, like, it is one of the most difficult playbooks to learn. And when you pair that with the fact that Cam Newton is, first of all, he got picked up, because for people that forget, he got picked up late in the season. Like, he got picked up maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the season even starts. Like I said, no preseason. You don't really get familiar. But even in that, Cam Newton had an incredible start to the season. We remember what he did against the Dolphins? The Dolphins, the first game. We remember what the incredible, even though they lost, the incredible game they had against the Seahawks. Cam Newton looked really good. But the problem with that, and the tough part about this the Patriots organization and what happened last year was, the toughest thing to do is start off strong and then have to halt. Because Cam Newton caught COVID, and of course there was like a COVID outbreak on the Patriots. There was also a COVID outbreak for the Colts, COVID outbreak for the Ravens. A lot of teams experienced COVID. A lot of games getting pushed back, this, that, and the third. With no circumstances, if the quarterback misses time, the show goes on. The train, especially for New England, the train just keeps moving. And it's hard to get put back into that situation when you're already not really familiar with the playbook like that, because you didn't really have time to learn it like that. You're not really familiar with your teammates, and your teammates aren't the greatest. I mean, your number one receiver was N'Keal Harry. Like, come on now. So it was tough. Last year was I'm going to say it was an anomaly year, and I think that Cam Newton's going to bounce back incredibly. Like I said, you have an offseason now. You have a slight preseason, and of course you have more players. You have better tight ends now. You have a better wide receiver core. So I think Cam Newton's going to bounce back pretty well from what happened last year. Now, again, the question is he a Hall of Famer? To me, that's probably one of the toughest questions to ask, because we know who Cam Newton is at his best. It's just, how many times have we seen his best? To me, at his best, I mean, hell, he's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks we've ever had. Again, i.e., look at the 2015 season, or look at his rookie season for the Carolina Panthers. Look at pretty much his entire career for the Panthers. See, and one of the reasons why I'm talking about Hall of Fame is because we'll talk about the Hall of Fame inductees. And a question that was presented is the 2022. We'll talk about it. But back to New England. I don't know, man. I would say yes. Now, I'm biased in this situation. As far as, I'm a big Cam Newton fan. That's no secret. So I would say yes. But I would say yes because, again, he's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks we've ever seen. Now, yeah, his accuracy isn't the greatest, but what he lacks in accuracy, he makes up with his running ability. He makes up with his physicality when he runs the ball. Hell, that's the reason why a lot of the times he's injured, because he gets hit, and not to mention the fact that if you really look at the one time he had an incredible defense and an incredible offensive line, that was 2015. And of course, as we saw, he didn't really have a wide receiver core. He had Greg Olsen, and he didn't really have a wide receiver core, and he still got them to the Super Bowl. So that's one. Like I said, he's either dealt with he's usually had a good defense. I mean, you got Luke Kuechly. He usually had a good defense. It was just his offensive line or his wide receiver core was god awful, i.e. what we saw last year. So I think when you give him a lot of help, or when you give him the help that he needs, he can do some things. And like I said, we saw that in 2015. We saw that his rookie year, and of course we saw that last year before COVID hit. But back to the Patriots. What do the Patriots really have I'm not gonna say a stranglehold anymore, because what we saw last year, that's pretty much over with. But what do you expect? What do we expect from the Patriots now? Like, usually expect with Tom Brady and everything. The Patriots were usually one of those teams that we usually always expected at least championship type play, championship caliber season. But I don't think we expect that anymore. In fact, I think you'd be pretty naive to expect that. I mean, the New England Patriots are not the New England Patriots of old. I mean, Stephon Gilmore, who's one of the better cornerbacks, he's getting up there in age. Not to mention, he's been on the trade block for God knows how many years. Of course, we need to see some of the players that come back that opted out last year due to COVID, but they're not world beaters anymore. Like that's what we have grown accustomed to, and they're not that. So I don't know, man. The question, well, there's a 17-game season at this point now. And the question is, can they make it to 11 wins? And I think a lot of that depends on, I mean, we know the Patriots philosophy. It's run the ball and have an incredible defense. Even with Tom Brady, there is a run-happy team. However, you're starting to see that the Patriots are kind of, acquiescing to Cam Newton's strong suit. If you look back, and I talk about 2015 and not a lot, because of course that was the year that he made the Super Bowl with the Panthers. If you look at that, Cam Newton's most of his success came from passes to the tight end. Of course, you had Greg Olsen. A lot of people can question his ranking in of course all time as far as tight ends, but he had Greg Olsen, and that was his number one target, and it worked wonders for the Panthers. And as you're seeing, the New England Patriots now are loading up on tight ends, and I think they're setting this season up to be very successful for Cam Newton. So the question is, again, can they make it to 11 wins? I say that means they'll be 11 and what? 11 and 6? I don't know about 11 wins. I can say I can see them getting to 9 or 10. I can see them getting 9 or 10 wins. 11 is tough because in that point, I think that you'd have to beat maybe the Bills once, and we'll talk about them in a second. I don't know if that's happening. And of course, I think you have to be somebody outside of the Jets. You have to be somebody in your division at least twice. And I don't know if they'll be able to beat the Dolphins twice, seeing as their incredible defense, and of course the Bills. So, and they have a tough schedule. They have a really tough schedule to start. The end of the schedule is not that tough, but to start, and we all know, the Patriots and Bill Belichick, they have a history and a historic record of being mediocre in in September. So I don't know, man. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs either. Well, you know what? I think they can make the playoffs again because there's 17 games. I think this is the first year that an extra team makes it into the playoffs. When you look at the AFC in general, they have a good chance. I just don't know, because we need to see what happens with the defense. We need to see what happens. Even though you did bring a lot of new weapons to the team. I mean, you got Nelson Aguilar, you have Kendrick Bourne. Like, are those weapons Super Bowl or playoff caliber weapons? Again, we'll have to see that with Cam Newton. So I don't know. I think that the Patriots are going to be a lot better than they were last year. So I'll say about 9 to 10 wins. I'll say about 9 to 10 wins for the Patriots. And let's move over to the Bills. The Bills had an exciting offseason due to the fact that they locked up their franchise quarterback, which is Josh Allen, for 6 years, $258 million extension. I will say this. Josh Allen is the perfect, and I mean absolute perfect example of how important a star wide receiver is. Now, I'm not saying that Josh Allen's success is solely due to Stephon Diggs being there, but Stephon Diggs being there is a huge, and I mean absolutely huge, I guess you could say, benefit for Josh Allen. Not to mention the offensive coordinator they changed, and he's been incredible. But people forget, or people don't remember, when you look at 6 years, $258 million, you think, damn, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, which last year proved that he is. However, people forget how bad, like how god awful he was his first 2 years in the league. Like his first year, for people that don't remember, coming out of college, he was one of the highest ranked quarterbacks in league history going into the draft. Like, they were putting him up against, the Peyton Mannings. They're putting him up against some of the greatest quarterbacks to ever be, I guess, prospected out of college. He's a big arm, he's used to cold weather, playing in Wyoming, so he's tough. But his first year, he was god awful, and his second year was better than his first. But he wasn't god awful his second year. He was just awful. So it was bad, man. And again, he gets a new offensive coordinator, and you get Stephon Diggs, and now you were one game away last year from being in the Super Bowl. So this really, again, and I talk about this all the time, fit matters in the NFL more than really any sport, in my opinion. You can drop. Now, I say fit matters a lot in basketball, especially rookie years and stuff. But if you're a great talent, if you're a transcendent talent, then fit doesn't. Hell, what's his name? LeBron James got, now again, I understand that's an anomaly, but he got Cleveland to the NBA Finals with Mo Williams and Drew Gooden. So fit matters in the NFL more than, to me, any sport. And the fact that you get dropped now Buffalo has been a good team since he's been there, but Buffalo didn't have a really star receiver, and her offensive coordinator was iffy. When you bring a new offensive coordinator and you bring a number one receiver as good as Stephon Diggs, you have to if you're a caliber type player that can do this, you're going to rise, you're going to improve. And as we saw last year, Josh Allen just exploded. And yes, in my opinion, he deserves the $258 million extension. Like, that's how good he was. And if he continues to play like this, he is a franchise quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback. And he's one of those quarterbacks when you look up, like, I don't know if he'll ever win a Super Bowl, but I do think that he can make it to a couple Super Bowls. Now, again, he's going to have to, there's another team we'll talk about maybe next Friday or something, or Saturday or something, but we need to see what the Bills do with the Chiefs. But he showed last year that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And he has the Bills primed for another deep playoff run, or at least back to the playoffs. Now, The question is, see, there's different questions for different teams. Different teams have different radars. Different teams. Everybody, when you going into the offseason, everybody thinks everybody thinks they're going to be, Super Bowl caliber teams. Hell, if you ask people in the Jets organization, they think they're making it to the playoffs. But there are different barometers for different teams. It's you can't, the New England Patriots at this point, you can't say, oh, are they Super Bowl caliber teams? Because we know they're not. You can't say to the Jets, oh, are they Super Bowl caliber teams? No. The Bills, however, they've etched themselves into the are they Super Bowl caliber teams because of what they did last year against they made it to the AFC Championship. The question that they have is, can they, one, duplicate what they did last year and expand on it? As far as the only thing that you can expand on is actually making it to the Super Bowl. And the question is, are they good enough? Are they better than the Chiefs at this point? Because the Chiefs, in my opinion, is the cream of the crop when we talk about the AFC. Now, offensively, they locked up Josh Allen. They still have Stephon Diggs. They kind of addressed their running game, which they needed to, seeing as though their best running back last year was Josh Allen. But I think that the question is, I'll say this. The reason why I don't think they're ready to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, in my opinion, is because of their defense. Their defense was not good last year. Yeah, they had a couple bright spots in their defense, but their defense was it Micah Hyde? Like, their defense is not, as a collective whole, good. Like, they were getting gashed by the Ravens. They were getting gashed by a lot of teams, and I don't know if they really addressed that in the offseason. I understand some of the, your priorities was lock up Josh Allen, which they did, but they didn't really address their defense. And because of that, I don't know if, you need a high scoring offense, which the Bills do, but you also need a defense that can slow down an attack from a Ravens, an attack from the Chiefs. And I just don't know if they can do that. However, I do think that, at least in the AFC East, they are the best team by a country mile. And that's crazy to say, especially when we think about the history that the New England Patriots have had. But I think, the Bills is the best team in the division by a country mile. It's not even close. And Josh Allen is the best quarterback in this division, and it's not even close. So I think that the Bills are primed for an incredible season, and I think that they are good enough. Don't be surprised. Let me say this. I think that this team, the Bills, if they duplicate and expand on what they did last year, this team is good enough to make it to a Super Bowl. This team is good enough to win a Super Bowl. I need to see we need to see what happens in the season, and we need to see what happens going up against some of the top AFC teams. Like I said, the Ravens, the Chiefs, maybe the Browns. But I do think that the Bills are good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. We just need to and win the Super Bowl. We just need to see how this season plays out. But yes, for people that question, yes, Josh Allen deserved this 6-year extension. And we'll talk about Luka in a second. But the beauty about Josh Allen is he's still young. So when this, in fact, let me see how old Josh Allen is. Josh Allen is 25 years old. So in 6 years, he'll be 31. He's still old. He's still 31 isn't, as we've seen for this age of quarterback. You look at Tom Brady, you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at Russell Wilson. 31's not old at this point. So he's still young enough that even if he plays out this entire extension, or I think the extension, after this year it starts, so he'll be 32. You're still good. He's still good enough to get another deal. So I think it was smart on his part. I think it was smart on the Bills' part, as we're starting to see there's not a lot of great quarterbacks that's not locked up. Again, outside of maybe two big exceptions, which is the Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson. There's not really a premium for quarterbacks that's available. So you want to lock up a quarterback that a lot of people felt last year should have deserved more votes for MVP. So I can see again. I can see the Bills going to the AFC Championship. I can see them going to the Super Bowl. I can even see them winning the Super Bowl. It really depends on if Josh Allen can improve, if Josh Allen can improve, because there was still some games and some of his decision making is still a little questionable. But if he improves and slight improvements, if he slightly improves and the defense is able to keep up with the offense, then yeah, they have a good case. So. That's the Bills. Let's move on to the Dolphins. The Dolphins have a lot of questions that they need, or that I'm not gonna say a lot. They have a big question, and that big question is: now a team can say something. A team can say a lot of great things. However, their actions speak a whole hell of a lot louder than their words, and that bodes extremely well I'm not gonna say extreme or bodes well, but that is the case for the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been trying to get, as we know, Deshaun Watson has been on the market this entire offseason. Came out and said he doesn't want to play for the Texans anymore. He wants to trade. Hell, I think a report yesterday out of the Texans organization, or out of Texas, is saying that he's never going to play another down for the Texans. So he's been available. And like I stated last episode, it's very rare that a player of his age and his caliber is available. So the Dolphins have been trying their hardest, and I mean their absolute hardest, to get Deshaun Watson. And that means they've been trying to give up their starting quarterback right now, which is Tua Tagovailoa. Now, yes, I think Deshaun Watson is a lot better than Tua. Don't get me wrong. But then you can't come out and say, no, Tua's our guy, but you've been trying to shop him all off season. So the Dolphins is an incredible team. Oh, not to mention, my fault, I totally forgot. Not just Deshaun Watson, but the Dolphins also threw Tua and threw their hands in the ring when Aaron Rodgers was saying that he doesn't want to return to Green Bay. So all offseason, Tua has been pretty much out there dangling like, yo, somebody come get this dude. Now, again, this is the NFL. This is the professional league, so it's a business. A team is always going to try to improve on their business. That shouldn't be a question. The question is, are the Dolphins good enough with Tua? When I say good enough, it goes back to when we talk about the Bills. To me, the Bills' ceiling is a Super Bowl. I don't think the Dolphins, at least right now, the Dolphins' ceiling is not a Super Bowl. The Dolphins' ceiling is probably the playoffs. Are they good enough to make the playoffs? Now, last year they were. It's just they kind of ran out of steam at the end. It's not just are they good enough to make the playoffs, it's is Tua the guy. Now, they can say, yeah, Tua's the guy, but clearly you believe otherwise if you've been trying to trade him damn near this entire offseason. Now, again, I understand when you compare Tua to Deshaun Watson, it's not a comparison. When you compare Tua to Aaron Rodgers, it's not a comparison. I understand that. But even still, if that's you didn't, now, again, I also understand these players, but you didn't hear the Bills try to go after Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson. You didn't hear the Ravens trying to go after Deshaun Watson. You didn't hear the Chiefs trying to go after Deshaun Watson. Hell, you didn't even hear the Bucks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You didn't hear them going after the Deshaun Watson. You didn't hear Green Bay going after Deshaun Watson, even though Green Bay has been struggling to keep their own quarterback. So it's like their actions are showing you that they don't trust Tua Tagovailoa as much as they lead themselves to believe. And you can actually look. Tua has struggled in some big moments. He's been benched a couple of fourth quarters. Now again, I understand this is rookie year, and it's your rookie year, and especially last year was tougher than any year with no preseason. And I said a while ago, before last year's season, that you're gonna struggle for the rookies. Now outside of maybe one or two, you saw a lot of the rookies struggle because of no offseason. No offseason, no preseason. So the Dolphins have to figure out, and Tua has to is Tua the guy? And if Tua is the guy, he pretty much determines where their ceiling is. Now, if Tua is at his best, if Tua is playing the best football he's ever played in his life, I still don't think the Dolphins are a Super Bowl caliber team, because I just don't know. It's hard for me to look at the Dolphins and think that they're better than the Bills. It's hard for me to look at the Dolphins and put them in the same category as the Ravens, as the Chiefs, as the Steelers. Like, it's hard for me to put them in the same category as that. Because again, we need to see what ceiling Tua gives them. Now, if you look at the team just outside of Tua, it's an incredible team. They have a really good offensive line. They have really good pieces on the perimeter. Devontae Parker. They have really good pieces. They have a really good running game, and they have an incredible defense. I think last year they were the highest scoring defense in the league. The Dolphins were. So that's why I'm saying that Tua is. We need to see what Tua is, because outside of Tua and around the team, they have a really good team. Now I don't know if their team is Super Bowl caliber team, but they have their team. Let me say this. So I'm gonna change my thoughts. I do think this is a Super Bowl caliber team, and I say that because if Deshaun Watson was the quarterback of this team, I think that they could make the Super Bowl. If Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback of this team, I think they could make the Super Bowl. If Tom Brady was the quarterback from this team, I think they could make the Super Bowl. If Josh Allen was the quarterback of this team, I think they could make the Super Bowl. So this is a Super Bowl caliber team, and that's why it goes back to the original statement. Tua Tagovailoa determines what their ceiling is. If he balls out and plays out of his mind, then they could have a deep playoff run. If he plays like he played last year, no. So that's why we just need to wait. It really depends on Tua. Now, again, the Dolphins can say that they trust Tua and that he's their franchise quarterback and that they have nothing but true faith in him. But again, they've been every single time there has been a quarterback of, an upper echelon quarterback that's been available, you've always heard the Dolphins are trying to make a push. I'm like, damn, they really don't mess with Tua. So we'll definitely need. This is an interesting season, and this season to me is very important for Tua. Very important for Tua. So that's the Dolphins. And the Jets. The Jets are in the same situation, in my opinion, that the Jaguars is in. We talked about the Jaguars last episode. They're in the same position. You have a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson, who you pretty much expect to start week one. You have a new coach in Robert Saleh. This team has some good pieces. Their offensive line is still god awful, so I feel bad for Zach Wilson. He's pretty much going to be running for his life, but luckily, he's a mobile quarterback. He was that at BYU, so I guess that's going to bode well. But he does have some wide receivers. He has a good talent in that situation. However, like I said, if his offensive line is god awful, so is he going to have time to throw it to them? I don't know. Their defense is okay. It's not it's decent. Let me say it's decent. But I don't think that it'll be as bad as last year. But this season is going to be interesting for the Jets because this is the first season in a while without Sam Darnold, of course, and there's a new coach, new quarterback. pretty much new scheme. So we need to see what Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh was touted as one of the best coaching candidates this offseason. Of course, he was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, and a lot of people were saying that he, was good enough to be a head coach and should have been a head coach. And of course, the Jets gave him the opportunity. I don't understand, and it's going on a little tangent. I don't understand why Eric Bieniemy still isn't the head coach, but that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna keep moving. But I don't really expect much from the Jets. I don't know what to expect. Let me say that. I don't know what to expect because, again, this is a new head coaching staff. It's a new quarterback. Some of the same problems that they dealt with for years now, which is the offensive line. The offensive line pretty much is still not the best. But, I'm expected. I don't know what to expect from the Jets. I do think, however, it's going to be kind of similar to what we see from the Jaguars because, again, new head coach, Urban Myers. For the Jets, new head coach, Robert Saleh. New quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. The Jets, new quarterback, Zach Wilson. So, yeah, I don't really expect much. When we're ranking these, I will say this, though. Trevor Lawrence is not, or Zach Wilson is not Trevor Lawrence. Now, again, we don't know what they'll be in the league, but that's not the case. So, if of course we're ranking the division, right now I say starting from worst to best, you have the Jets. They young team. They do have the worst offensive line in the division. New head coach, new quarterback. Then I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots right now because I can't forget what happened last year. Now again, I understand that you have an off season, you have a preseason. Of course, Cam Newton's going to be healthy, or hopefully Cam Newton stays healthy the entire year. This, of course, can change, but as of right now, I have the New England Patriots as third in the division. Then you have the Dolphins. I think they need to figure out what they have in Tua and if Tua is the franchise quarterback or not. But outside of Tua, they do have a really good team, a Super Bowl caliber team. If you put the right right quarterback, we just need to see if Tua is the right quarterback. And then, of course, the Bills. The Bills, to me, is the top of the class of this of this division right now. Josh Allen, you have the best. You have the best wide receiver in the division. You have the best quarterback in the division. You probably have the best coach. Well, the second best coach in the division outside of Bill Belichick. So, I think the Bills is, to me, head and shoulders above the rest of the division. So, that's the AFC East. Next episode, of course, we'll break down another division. The goal is to break down all the divisions by the seasons or the start of the season, which of course we'll do, and then of course we'll throw in some top 10s in there, and yeah. But I'm excited for the season. I said this last episode, but I'm excited for the season. This season is going to be. There's a lot of news. Okay, an extra 17 games, an extra playoff team. There's a lot of storylines to talk about in every division, and that's why I'm breaking down every division before the season starts. So that's the AFC East. Let's move forward. We talked about Josh Allen getting the extension, and I said I was going to talk about Luka. Luka signs a 5-year, $207 million extension. Now, this extension is unlike anyone we've seen. And what does that mean? We've never really seen a player this young he's 22, be this good this fast. Now I understand, and now we talked about this last episode, but I understand that Luka Doncic has played overseas since he was like 16. So I understand that, you molded him, and he's not really he wasn't really a traditional rookie. He wasn't really a traditional young player coming to the league, seeing as though he played most of his life overseas. But the reason why I said this extension is unlike anything we've seen is because Luka is only 22, and which means a lot of things. It means that he hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential yet. And Luka's already this good. Hell, we had a conversation last episode. Is Luka the best player in the world? Luka's only 22. Is he? Luka is 22, right? Yeah, Luka is only 22 years old. And the fact that he's 22, still this good is unheard of, unprecedented. Also, another reason why I said that this extension is unlike any other is because we just praised Steph Curry for being the first player in NBA history to sign two $200+ million extensions with Golden State. Steph Curry has been all worldly. Steph Curry has been one of the greatest NBA players we've ever seen, and Steph Curry is undoubtedly the best shooter of all time. Like that, we know who Steph Curry is. Also, you look at Steph Curry's age. I believe he's 33, which means, Now the extension that he signed was for 4 years. So after he'll be what? I think the extension starts after next season. So he'll be 38 by the time this. So I don't think he's getting another $200 million deal. But I don't know. Luka Doncic is 22. That means at the end of this extension, he'll probably be 27, 28. That means he'll be in the heart of his prime. He'll be better than he is now, and more than likely he'll sign another $200 million plus extension. And think about it. Say he signs another 4-year at 20. Let's say 28. That means he'll be 32. That means he can sign another one. Again, Luka Doncic is different, man. Luka Doncic is a player. Again, man, when we look at some of the foreign players in the league or of all time, of course, you got Hakeem Olajuwon, you got Dirk Nowitzki, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, you got Manu Ginobili. You have to throw Luka's name in there already, and he's only 22. You would be, you'd be hard. Of course, you have Sabonis, Davidas Sabonis. Like you have, there's been some incredible overseas players. Again, I think the cream of the crop, pretty much the top 3 that I can think of is Hakeem Olajuwon, Dirk Nowitzki, and in my opinion, Giannis. Now, of course, you can also, I think the real debate is who's number 4, in my opinion. Is it Luka? I think Luka's better than Manu Ginobili. Don't get me wrong. He's better than Tony Parker. If you want to talk about Canada, I think you can have the argument if he's better than Steve Nash already. So Luka Doncic, this is funny, man. This $207 million seems low, and that's crazy for a man that's 22 and only getting better. He hasn't even touched his prime yet. 22. To put that in retrospect, right? I'm 27. Luka Doncic is 5 years younger than me, and getting freaky on the court. That's incredible. That really should show you how different basketball or how sports in general is changing. You look at this draft class, man. I don't know for people, if you've been watching the Summer League, which started last week or started this week. Jalen Green from the Rockets he looked incredible. Jalen Suggs has looked incredible. Evan Mobley has looked great. Hell, some of the players that weren't even in the top 10 have looked good. Moody from Golden State, he was 14, but he looked good. Boot Knight, these players, the game is changing, man. Now, yeah, you still have, the cream of the crop. You still have KD, Steph, LeBron, James. You still have the top players, but the game is changing. We're going to look up in about 3 or 4 years and say, damn, Cade Cunningham is arguably one of the, I'm not just saying him, but I'm saying this class of talent is Cade Cunningham could be one of the best players in the league. Jalen Suggs can be one of the best players in the league. Jalen Green, Josh Christopher, LiAngelo Ball has been incredible. The league is changing, man. So I think that this, is smart. Usually, what you see is you usually don't see a player sign their first extension for the team, especially if they're bound to hit free agency in a couple years, because they know that they can make more money uh, once they hit free agency. Now again, as the years go up, of course, the salary cap and the number goes up. So you usually don't see players sign their first extension, especially a 5-year extension. The difference is you don't see a player as good as Luka at 22. So the fact that when this is over, at most he'll be 28 years old, 27, 28, which means he's still in his prime. He's still young enough to sign yet another extension. Man, oh man. That's incredible. But shouts out to Luka Doncic. The onus now is on Dallas. Dallas has to get him better talent. We need to see what happens with Porzingis, if he is a player that's going to stay or not. But they need to get him more talent. There's no reason why you're going to sign him. You lock up. You locked up. You lock up. You got him locked up for 5 years. And when I say locked up, I mean like got him. He's there for 5 years, 5 more years than his once his current contract is over. So you have to. This is a championship caliber player. Hell, you see what he just did with Slovenia. Even though they didn't medal, he was incredible for Slovenia. So, the onus now, like I said, is on Dallas. Are they going to get pieces around him? Dallas is not the greatest free agent attraction, as we've seen year after year after year. However, Dallas has never had a player like Luka outside of Dirk, but yeah. So we need to see. The onus again is on Dallas to get him talent. But I agree, and shouts out to Luka Doncic for signing a 5-year, $207 million extension at 22 years old. So shouts out to him, man. Moving forward. So the 2020/2021 Hall of Fame inductees were inducted in the Hall of Fame. And there was some big names, man. I'm not going to go all of them, but you had Jimmy Johnson, the legendary coach for the Cowboys. Also, Jerry Jones stopped BSing and said they're going to put Jimmy Johnson in the Cowboys Hall of Fame, which that was a pretty petty thing right there. I mean, Jimmy Johnson was the best coach that Dallas has ever had, and they've only had success with Jimmy Johnson. So the fact that just now, like it's been time, Jerry Jones, but Jimmy Johnson was elected in the 2020 Hall. Now, again, because the Hall of Fame wasn't, or they had to push back the Hall of Fame due to COVID last year, you saw 2 nights. One night was a 2020 Hall of Fame class. The other night was a 2021 Hall of Fame. So, like I said, Jimmy Johnson, Steve Atwater, Isaac Bruce from the St. Louis Rams. You saw, Donnie Snell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Elgin James, he probably had one of the greatest lines ever. I started my career with gold teeth. I ended it with a gold jacket. That, to me, that's a mic drop, bro. That's a mic drop if I've ever seen a mic drop. That is one of the greatest lines I have ever heard in a Hall of Fame speech. I started my career. Now, for people that don't know, Elgin James went to the University of Miami, and there was, especially players that came from the U or came from Florida, there was a reputation that they had, that they were thugs, that they were hard to coach. They were tough players. They were tough players to be around. Like, they were rugged players. And again, even though the league is dominated by African American players, we know that the stigma that African American athletes have. They're good enough on the field or on the court, but not good enough in the front office. They're thugs, and you're expecting them to do something wrong. Like, we know the stigma that black players have. So the fact that he said that, to me, is, again, that's one of the best lines ever. I have to say it again. I started my career with gold teeth, which he did. He had a gold grill in his mouth, and I ended with a gold jacket. Hey, man, that's a mic drop. And of course, Bill Cowher, probably one of the best coaches ever. Responsible for 3 or 4 of those. Oh no, 3 of them Steelers championships. 2 of those Steelers championships. So that was a 2020 class. 2021 saw my all-time favorite player of all time, Calvin Johnson. It saw Charles Woodson, arguably one of the best defensive players ever, and of course Heisman winner for Michigan, and of course arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Peyton Manning. So that was the two. Those were the class. Congratulations, John Lynch. Congratulations to Drew Pearson also got it, actually. Bill Nunn. So shouts out to the 2020 Hall of Fame class and the 2021 Hall of Fame class. Again, all of them is well deserved. There's still a couple like Torrey Holt didn't make it, Reggie Wayne didn't make it. I think that they'll make it in the upcoming years. To me, I think that there's to me, I understand, I guess, for personal reputation, but I don't understand the hoopla about being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, at the end of the day, if your bust is standing next to my bust in the Hall of Fame in Canton or in Springfield, like, we're all Hall of Famers. So I don't get that. Oh, he was a 5th ballot Hall of Famer. But my G, Chris Carter. Chris Carter, I think it took like 5-6 times for this man to make it to Hall of Fame, but he made it in the Hall of Fame, and his bust is sitting next to, Peyton Manning's bust, or his bust is sitting next to some of the first-time Hall of Famers. So, that's that. But with that being said, the 2022 Hall of Fame class, or inductees, or people that couldn't make it, came out, and there were some interesting names. You had Steve Smith, the wide receiver from the Panthers. You had Andre Johnson, Anquan Bowden, DeMarcus Ware, Devin Hester. But the real question, the person that pretty much dominated the headlines and dominated the debates was Tony Romo. Tony Romo is eligible for making the Hall of Fame, and a lot of people are questioning, is he a Hall of Famer or not? Now, here's some of the career highlights that he has. He had second team All-Pro in 2014. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. In 2014, he was the NFL passer rating leader. He had the completion percentage leader in 2014. He won the Walter Payton Award in 2002, which I think is college. His career stats, he had 4,335 passing attempts, 2,829 pass completions. That's a completion percentage of 65%. He had 248 touchdowns to 117 interceptions. He finished his career with 34,183 passing yards, and he finished his career with a passer rating of 97. The question really is, how do you determine your Hall of Famers? Now, again, I understand it's not us, it's them, but how do you determine your Hall of Famers? What is a Hall of Fame player to you? There's a lot of people, like I just talked about in 2021, or the 2021 class. Calvin Johnson is my favorite player of all time. Megatron, that's my favorite football player of all time. A lot of people said, he only played, 9 seasons? He only played 9 seasons. A lot of people, and in those 9 seasons, he was on the team that went 0-16 for the Lions. He didn't really see a lot of success. However, people knew he was the best wide receiver by a wide margin when he was playing. So then a lot of people question, well, because his accolades aren't there, should he be a Hall of Famer? That question is also bold. You can bold the same question for Tony Romo. However, Calvin Johnson didn't make the Hall of Fame, and Tony Romo has one of the best passer ratings in NFL history, one of the best completion percentages in NFL history. Like, Tony Romo You can say what you want about Tony Romo. You can feel the way you feel about Tony Romo. Hell, I'm a Washington fan. I'm a Washington fan, so but I have to give respect where respect is due. Tony Romo, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl, he didn't win an MVP. Tony Romo was a pretty good player, and Tony Romo did enough to make it in the Hall of Fame. I mean, again, the man is a 4-time Pro Bowler, and he finished a passer rating of 97, and this is on a team that passed the ball a lot. So, I mean, again, you can feel how you feel about Tony Romo, but I do think that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's one of those players where you just like to hate. Hell, I didn't like Tony Romo when he was playing. Now I love Tony Romo now as a play-by-play color analyst for CBS. Like, he is incredible at that he can get in the Hall of Fame for that. But yeah, I mean, as much as I may not like Tony Romo because of the team that I like, Tony Romo is still an incredible player. So I do think that when you look at, while he doesn't have a lot of career accolades, he does have a lot of cowboy accolades. And he has a lot of sneaky numbers that you wouldn't expect. I mean, again, you wouldn't expect him to be, I think, top 5 in passer rating in NFL history. You wouldn't expect him to be top 5 and I think completion percentage in NFL history. You wouldn't expect Tony Romo to do that. So I do think that he's done enough to make it into the Hall of Fame. So, you know, I don't, and it goes back to what I just said. I don't know if he'll be first ballot or anything, but if he makes it in a Hall of Fame, he makes it in a Hall of Fame. Again, Chris Carter wasn't first ballot. T.O. wasn't first ballot. What's his name? Randy Moss wasn't first ballot. Wait, is Randy Moss all? Yeah, Randy Moss wasn't first ballot. Yet and still, in my opinion, Randy Moss and T.O. are arguably the best wide receivers of all time. So it doesn't really matter what ballot you are. If you're in the Hall of Fame, you're in the Hall of Fame. And I do think that whether he gets in first ballot or not, I do think that he's a Hall of Famer. That is Tony Romo. And again, when you look, Torrey Holt is still not in the Hall of Fame. And people know how incredible he was for the St. Louis Rams. Reggie Wayne, come on now. So now they will be, of course, Hall of Famers, but because they're not first ballot, a lot of people like to, I guess, I don't know, to downgrade them or whatever. But nah, I do think that Tony Romo will be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if it'll be in 2022, but I do think could be a Hall of Famer. Moving on. So we talked about Messi last episode, and for people that missed it, Lionel Messi is leaving or left Barcelona, but he didn't leave Barcelona because he won. Now, I know reports last year said that he wanted to, and he addressed those reports in his, exit press conference. Yes, he did want to leave last year. He was unhappy last year, but this year he wanted to stay. And we saw a very tearful Lionel Messi. He wanted to stay. He grew up in the Barcelona team. Like he grew up. I think he started playing kind of like Luka when he was 16, and now he's arguably the GOAT. And I didn't really expound on it last episode, but I do think it's crazy that when you look at Lionel Messi, he's kind of in that LeBron James, he's kind of in that Michael Jordan, he's kind of in that Derek Jeter class as far as they're synonymous with a club. Now, let me throw out LeBron James, Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan, Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant, like they're synonymous with the club. They were great enough, and of course we know Jordan in the later years with the Wizards, but nobody really considers that. When we think of Jordan, we think of the Bulls. So when we think of Derek Jeter, we think of the Yankees. When we think of Michael Jordan, we think of the Bulls. When we think of Dirk Nowitzki, we think of Dallas Mavericks. When we think of Kobe, we think of the Lakers. Those are pretty much statesmen as far as they've done so much for an organization or for a team that you expect them, even if they leave the team, you expect them to be left with grace, or you expect them to leave on their own merit. You expect them to leave on their own terms. you expect them, the team, they've done so much for the team. The team is going to wrap their arms around them. It's surprising that you didn't really see that with Barcelona. The reason why he's not there is because of a financial thing. That, by the way, they could have rectified. They could have fixed it. They just didn't. I think they were looking at his age and thinking they don't want to pay him that much money for a player that age. But the thing is, again, Lionel Messi now, you can argue what you want between who's the best between Messi and Ronaldo, but there's no argument. Messi has been the best player for Barcelona. He's been their best player in Barcelona sports history. And to see a player that's been so synonymous to a club just be treated like that or have it end like that, you don't really see that much, man. So it's crazy in my opinion. But he did choose PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. And I think that's gonna be crazy, man. You got him, Brazil's Neymar. You got Mbappe, who was incredible in the World Cup a couple years ago. This team is gonna be something serious. Now, again, he's only signed a 2-year deal, so I don't know what happens after that. But I just think it's weird, man. It's weird for the fact that, and Mike Wilbon said it, you don't really see a player at the end of their career get treated like Lionel Messi was treated in this situation. I understand about finance and everything, but if a team wants you there, they'll make it work. Barcelona just didn't want to pay him because I guess of his age. But I mean, even though you look at his age, he's still incredible. He's still one of the best soccer players in the world. So I mean, didn't he just won for Argentina? Like, they just won a World Cup. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. And I think that when you look at organizations, man, I don't believe in the whole karma system. I think if you're good to people, you be good to people. If not, it is what it is. But I do think that an organization, when you give your all to an organization and they don't in return, pretty much, it's not, when you give your all to an organization and your all has produced in a lot of victory and a lot of wins and a lot of success for the organization, and the organization doesn't repay you at the end, or you leave or have to leave like that, I do think that that really free agents and people looking for new ball clubs, I do think that I do think that they remember that, the fact that you're the best player that you've ever had, who we just saw crying in a press conference because he wanted to stay. He even said that he was willing to cut his salary 50% to stay, and you didn't make that work. I think that people remember that. But again, he goes to PSG. I think that PSG is already pretty much a powerhouse, but I do think that now that you have Neymar, Mbappe, and now Lionel Messi, that's going to be a scary team. So, I'm excited to see what happens after that. So, moving forward. Speaking of players, pretty much leaving situations, the Raptors, of course, as we know, this offseason, Kyle Lowry went to the Miami Heat. He was a free agent, went to the Miami Heat. No, he wasn't. It was a sign. Was it? No. I think it was a sign and trade, but he went to the Miami Heat. And a report came out saying the Raptors are going to retire Kyle Lowry's jersey, the number 7. And a lot of people, it kind of goes back to the whole, I don't know if you remember, but the Rockets said that they're going to retire James Harden jersey, number 13. And it's like, do you retire players' jerseys, one, that's still playing, and two, if you really look at people think that you only should retire jerseys if they win you a championship, and that's not the case at all. Like that, you retire players' jerseys that meant something to the team. Hell, I think the Rockets have Yao Ming's jersey retired now. I know Yao Ming's a Hall of Famer, but they have Yao Ming's jersey retired, and he didn't win anything. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that they have Tracy McGrady's jersey retired. Like, So you don't really have to win a championship. You just have to be good for the franchise or be memorable for the franchise. And Kyle Lowry was a very important piece. I mean, he helped them. Now I understand Kawhi Leonard was a big part of that, but he helped them win their first and only championship. That is the Raptors. Now, do I think that they should retire Kyle Lowry's jersey? Yes, I do. I think Kyle Lowry deserves his jersey to be retired. He's been an incredible player. He is an incredible player his entire career. Even though I don't, he annoys me, but he's still been a good player. So I do think. Let me say this: he's been a good player for the Raptors, for Toronto, and I do think that he deserves to be. He deserves to be and have the jersey retired. However, there's a couple people, I looked it up. The Raptors are one of a few teams that have no jersey retired. I know Memphis is one, but Memphis already came out and said they're going to retire Zach Randolph's jersey, Marc Gasol, Mike Conley. They're going to do that. The Raptors is a team that does not have any jerseys retired, which is crazy to me because yes, you're going to retire what's his name? You're going to retire Kyle Lowry's jersey, but why not retire DeMar DeRozan's jersey? He's one of the best players you've ever had. He wanted to stay, of course, but his name is kind of synonymous when you think of the Raptors. Why not retire Vince Carter's jersey? One of the greatest players ever, probably the best player you've ever had in the organization outside of Kawhi Leonard. But why not retire Chris Bosh's jersey? Chris Bosh, I mean, he was the third overall pick in the 2003 draft. Like, why not retire his jersey? So I don't know. It's a little questionable, but I'm not going to take away from this. Shouts out to Kyle Lowry for, of course, getting your jersey retired and, well deserved. Even though I may feel some type of way about Kyle Lowry because he just annoys me, man, like as a player. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he, helped Toronto win their first and only championship in basketball, or pretty much, in basketball. So, and of course, his name is synonymous when you think of the Raptors. He's meant so much for the organization, for the franchise. So I understand that they're going to retire his jersey, even though, again, I don't understand why DeMar DeRozan is not retired or Chris Bosh or Vince Carter. So I think they need to get on that. Now, would I retire Kawhi Leonard's jersey? No, he was only there for a year. But, now I understand people say, but what about, Golden State? They're going to say they're going to retire, what's his name? They're going to retire Kevin Durant's jersey. I mean, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest players of all time. So, bada bing, bada boom. But, again, shouts out to Kyle Lowry for getting your jersey retired. And lastly, before we go, the Team USA or the Olympics have been wrapped up, and shouts out to all the participants that won. Shouts out to all the participants in general. I understand that it was tough, with the bubble-like atmosphere. You couldn't really do much outside of the Olympic Games. So shouts out to you guys for making it. Of course, we know about a lot of players dealing with mental health issues. So shouts out for them for speaking out on that. Shout out to people like Allison Felix. I think she won like her 10th or 11th medal, which is the most in like women's track or something. Shouts out to her, especially coming off of pregnancy and I think a C-section. She's an incredible, incredible talent. Allison Felix, shouts out to them. Shouts out to the women's track team. They were incredible. I mean, but the people that I want to talk, people that I'm going to talk about is Team USA basketball and women's basketball. I kind of addressed it last week or last episode. The question has been, has the world caught up to Team USA? Look at the men's and especially the women's team. And say, hell no. Yo, this wasn't the best team that the men could have brought. This wasn't This probably was the best. This probably was the best team that the women could bring. And if you want to just look at the women right now, the women blew out. Now again, they did lose a game, an exhibition game, but they blew out every single body. Like they did not have a close game. I think their closest game was the gold medal game, outside of the loss that they had. But their closest game was the gold medal game against Japan, and they beat the dog ish out of them. So, hell no, the world has not caught up to Team USA. I think the world's gotten better. Don't get me wrong. The world's gotten better. I mean, you see Giannis, 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, Nikola Jokic MVP, Joel Embiid finished second in MVP. You have Ben Simmons for Australia. Team France has, like I said, Rudy Gobert. You have Luka Doncic. We just talked about him. The world has gotten a lot better. Back when I think in 2012, when Team USA just beat the holy hell out of Nigeria by like 80 points. I think they only had like 1 or 2 NBA players. Now this Nigeria team had like 7 or 8 or something like that. The teams have gotten better. Yes. The world has gotten better. But hell no, the world has not caught up to Team USA. Think about the players that didn't play this year. Steph didn't play. LeBron James didn't play. James Harden didn't play. Kyrie Irving didn't play. Klay Thompson didn't play. Paul George didn't play. Kawhi Leonard didn't play. Like, what? On the women's side, Nneka Abumake didn't play. Like, come on now. Come on now. Now, I understand Liz Cambage didn't play for Australia. I get that. But Liz Cambage wasn't doing much against this Team USA women. So all I'm saying is, again, first, shouts out to Team USA. Shouts out to the women. Shouts out to Sue Bird. First of all, shouts out to the women for winning their 7th straight gold medal. Their dominance has extended longer than the men's, of course. Shouts out to Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, the only players in world history for basketball to win 5 straight. Shouts out to Sylvia Fowles for winning 4 straight. Again, shouts out to the Team USA women. And the gap between the men, it's still a wide gap in my opinion from the men and like Team USA men's and any other team in the world, but the gap is exponential from Team USA women and the next best women's team. I don't even know who was it. Australia, maybe, I don't know, but the gap between Team USA men and the next team is wide, and the gap between Team USA women and the next women's team is gigantic. But shouts out to them, man, and shouts out again to all the people that participated in the Olympics. Again, Allison Felix for making history. A lot of the swimmers, shouts out to all of them, bro. And there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys for watching. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, long sleeve, joggers, sweaters, the link is in the description below. I have multiple designs, multiple colors. Go get yours today. Hey, man, go get your merch, man. This is some good merch, man. Go get you some merch. Go get you some. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will definitely help. Again, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And until next time, much love.